Welcome to Reconcilable Differences. I'm Phillip George Jr. and this is Paul Smith.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're doing an episode. We're going to talk about the Additional Provisions Addendum. It's a nice form, right?
And before anyone out there starts writing in and texting us about how joyous they're going to find this topic, yeah, we find it pretty exciting too.
But it's going to be informative and we'll be as entertaining as we can. Fair enough?
Fair enough, Philip.
Okay, so we're in good spirits today. So number one, let's just jump into it. This form is an addendum that attaches to the contract and it modifies the contract. There's only 7 options on this form, and it's exactly what it is, what it sounds like, the Additional Provisions Addendum. So the very first one, the option that you can utilize is expiration of offer. So you put a date and time that the offer will expire unless it's accepted. Now this is used, in my opinion, to force a decision by the seller.
I would say that is correct. And it's often misused, by the way, too, but go ahead.
I agree. I use it, though, to again, if there's a hot commodity, we're putting in a strong offer. Look, I want to force that situation to happen. I want the seller to either say something or not say something. And keep in mind, if they don't respond, that's still an answer, you know. So, but again, that's the way I utilize it, is to force a decision by the seller. If we have a hot commodity, we know there's going to probably be multiple offers. We want this house. We're going to put in a strong offer. I use it there.
So I have a couple thoughts about that I'd like to share.
Okay.
All right. So, and here is a little bit of the dilemma that we run into when we're representing a buyer or a seller, and this form is used putting the deadline in. All right. Mm-hmm. So remember back in COVID times when the market was like insane. All
That's right.
And it may happen again. We'll have to wait and see. But you'd go active on a house on a Friday, and you'd get an offer like 5 minutes after it goes active, and it's got a deadline of like the next morning at 9 a.m. No one has really even looked at the house yet, but somebody makes a substantial offer and they want you to accept it and block out anybody else. But we know, at least at that time, we could get an insane Godfather offer, and the one you got isn't. So that's the dilemma. It's like, what do you advise your folks to do? And of course, they're the ones that make the decision. Hey, this is your net. Is this going to be enough for you, or do you want to try to get better? Right?
Absolutely, but I would say, Paul, just to kind of piggyback or to add to what you're saying there. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but let's say that it's not the Godfather offer. Let's say that it's a really good offer, though. Let's say it's a really good offer, and the old saying is a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, right? So you have that offer already. It's everything you really wanted. Yes, there's a possibility that you may get more, but it's the risk the seller's going to take. You may not get more. You may not get a better offer. And so that's where it can come in handy to kind of force that decision from the seller. But ultimately, if they make that risk, then you can always resubmit. But I've seen too many people lose properties because the sellers drag out waiting for another offer. So again,
and the seller makes the decision about taking the risk.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it works every time. I'm not saying to utilize. I think it's a case by case basis.
I agree. So the question I have about the deadline part. So you submit an offer, and let's say you put a 5 p.m. deadline the next day.
That's right.
You don't get any response back from the agent or the seller, and 5 p.m. comes along, your offer is dead.
Per the Additional Provisions
Addendum.
That's right.
That's right. Okay.
And then you can resubmit. You can remove the additional provisions and the deadline.
And they have it up until the deadline of 5 p.m. That was good for the seller to accept the offer as written. No changes.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. We're on the same page.
That's right. Now, let me ask you this.
As often as that doesn't happen, we're on the same page.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's say they don't accept it, Paul. Let's say that they give you a counter offer.
Your offer is dead.
That's right.
Because it's been counted.
But they've responded, so then you can do something. You can move forward, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can negotiate.
Yeah. So all you're doing is trying to get an answer, in my opinion, in that situation. Okay, so the next thing, Paul, is septic system install. We were talking a little bit about this before. I've never used it for this particular application, but you say you have.
I have. By the way, this form can be used with our Form 2T, the offer to purchase and contract, our standard form, but also Form 12T, which is the vacant lot form.
Okay.
So
okay.
that's where I've used this in conjunction with that, where you specify certain things about the septic system. You know, whether it's going to be conventional or another type like a pump system. And you can also get into a number of bedrooms.
That's right.
Which is really what you want to be specific about. It also gets into play who is responsible for doing certain things and paying certain costs as it relates to testing by the county or a soil scientist, and who clears the land. So
there's even a date in there for when the land needs to be cleared by.
That's right. So I've used it that way so you can keep in mind your due diligence period and get things done in a timely manner. That's how I've used it.
I got you. Well, that's interesting. The next option you can use. By the way, I'd like to point out that for those following along at home, this form, the Additional Provisions Addendum, is Form 2A11-T, just for realtors and agents out there looking and following along about what we're talking about. The next
by the way, that's a great trivia question on Wednesday nights.
It is. Yeah, it is. I don't think they're actually doing that, but yeah, fair enough. The next option, he really likes trivia. So the next option is the rental income and investment. So if you're buying a property that has a lease, then it sets a due when you will have and provide that lease to the buyer.
Yeah, along with rent rolls, rent history, being paid, all of those things. Yes. So, all of things the new owner may be interested in, especially from the investment standpoint, justifying their purchase. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those out there that are thinking of buying or selling an investment property, keep in mind you can buy an investment property with a tenant already in place. You can sell a property with a tenant in place. I think a lot of folks out there, a lot of sellers don't realize that. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said that's correct.
That is true. You heard that here. He agreed with me just now. With that being said, the fourth one, the next one is agreed upon repairs and improvements. Now, I've used this one many, many times, and typically it's for things that you visually see when you go look at the property, things that are hidden or you have to uncover during an inspection or something like that. These are things like you go there and you see, hey, the deck is falling apart already. We want to go ahead and make sure that we put that offer in and we have them repair the deck, but we don't need an inspection to tell them that, hey, the deck is falling apart. Or there could be a myriad of things, but it's something that you see that you want some sort of improvement or repair done to the property.
Yeah, this is one I've used quite a bit too. And you bring up a good point when you inspect a property, you're previewing it before you decide to make an offer and you see issues. It is especially helpful when your buyer is doing a government loan, like they're doing FHA, VA.
Right.
And an issue that you see is going to be a showstopper with the lender because of the lending guidelines. So you make that a condition to get done. I guess you can make it a condition too, prior to appraisal, so that everything keeps moving in a positive direction. This one is a little bit more difficult to use or get a seller to engage you on when there's a lot of competition for a property, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But hey, we represent the buyer in this particular case. We're discussing it in those terms, in terms of leveraging it.
Yeah, and I think you'll agree with me, Paul. Every situation is different. So talk to your realtor. We'll talk to you. We'll guide you through and advise when to use the form, when not to use the form. Recently, I've used it. We found out from the beginning of the showing and everything that our seller was, hey, we're not going to do any repairs. And we also found out that the HVAC system was not permitted. So when we submitted our offer, we did Additional Provisions Addendum to have the HVAC. That's the only thing that my client really cared about, was making sure that HVAC system was permitted. Yeah. That's an excellent use of that form and that option, would you say?
I would agree.
And before we move on to the next topic, I forgot to say this in the beginning, but assuming that you can see our fancy new mics on the desk here in front of us. Yeah, Paul, they look pretty nice. I hope they're picking up good, but they look nice and professional.
I decided to go with the chrome or silver.
I like it.
Versus the red or black or.
Yeah.
I guess you could get them in any kind of color, but quite frankly, these were the ones that were available.
If you don't mind me asking, what brand are they? Are they
They are Yeti Blues. They're called
Yeti Blues?
Yeti, Yeti Blues.
And we'll have that in the description as well.
Perhaps a future sponsor of Reconcilable Differences.
Perhaps.
The important word there being perhaps.
Yes. But again, if you want more information about these, you say Yeti Blue?
Yeti Blue.
Yeti Blue microphones, they'll be in the description. But I just wanted to tell everybody, acknowledge that we have fancy, cool mics. I hope they work well. They seem to be. All right, so the next one is, if there's option 5 on the Additional Provisions Addendum is there a manufactured product being conveyed? And there's a spot on there for the VIN number, the model, the year, etc. about the manufactured product. This I've seen this in real world application where you're buying a house and they have a trailer home, a manufactured product on the back of the lot, for example.
Yeah, there could be more than one, too.
Yeah, and that's right.
There
That's
could be
right.
multiple manufactured homes.
Good point, Paul.
Yeah.
All right. So again, there's not a lot to go in about that. It's just if there's one being conveyed, you want to make sure that you document it and put that up front with your offer.
Yeah. Well, this does tie in with the addition on the offer to purchase,
Yes.
Form 2T, that first page, where is a manufactured home going to be a part of this?
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of connect the dots here and summarize all of the manufactured homes on the Additional Provisions Addendum.
That's right. And we have done a previous episode where we talk about the OTP, the offer to purchase and contract. All these forms are ever evolving. The offer to purchase and contract now is 17 pages?
Correct.
Yeah, and so they keep adding new clauses. They keep adding new things because, and this is the truth, okay? And this is in every walk of life. If you see something, a piece of paperwork or a clause in paperwork that doesn't make any sense, it's because somebody lost money somewhere.
The Real Estate Commission and the Bar Association and NC Realtors, they typically don't make a recommendation to change something when everything is going fine. Yeah, it's only when somebody raises hell, pardon the use of that word, and says, what is going on here? This has to change. Yeah, somebody's lost some money on one side of the fence or both.
And let's say that your dream home, you want to buy it, and it's going to have a pool. And you're looking at properties, and you find one, and you want to put in an offer on that property. And let's say it's the middle of winter. Okay. Typically, pools are winterized. So option 6 clarifies who's responsible for getting the pool ready for inspection, and ultimately to re-winterize it as well.
I love this one, and you want to know why? Okay, it's read the very end of this particular section 6 in parentheses. If neither box is checked, and this is about responsibility, buyer shall be responsible.
That's right.
I don't know if I've seen that on another form where it's like, hey, if the agent doesn't check off either box, don't assume the buyer will be responsible for any of this. So anyway, I've never seen that before.
Well, no, I understand, and I think this is a perfect time to tell the public out there, if you're a new agent, keep this in mind as well. It is the buyer's responsibility to investigate the property. The seller is not duty bound to do any repairs. They're not duty bound to help you in any way to investigate the property. That is on you and at your expense. And this is one of those spots where you can say, let's say that the pool is in disarray when you go there. Let's say it's green. Let's say it hasn't been cleaned in a while, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to spend the money to get the pool cleaned for somebody else. What if I don't buy the property? That's a perfect example of where you might want to use this form to say, hey, seller, as a part of our offer, we want you to clean the pool and get it ready.
Am I mistaken here when I say the following? Why don't we ask questions about things before we write a contract? Like, you go in there and the pool is a disaster, all right? We can certainly ask who services the pool. When was the last time the pool was started up? When was the last time the liner was replaced? How old is the liner? How old is the filtration system? Is it salt water? Was it converted from chlorine to salt water? All these things. And by the way, these are the questions that your competent listing agent doesn't mind.
A listing agent that's worth their salt is going to ask those questions up front before they go on the market, so they have an answer to the buyer and the buyer's agent when they come through. But let's say they didn't, and let's say that we represent you and we go there and it looks like there's a jungle in the pool. We're going to obviously ask questions, but this form would allow us to put that responsibility back on the seller as a part of our offer. The last one is pretty interesting, which they've added to the offer to purchase and contract section about this as well, is the off-site septic or garage, parking pad, storage. Have you used this one?
I have not had an opportunity to use this one yet, but I know why it's there.
Mm-hmm.
I have not personally had this. I mean, I've sold properties that have had off-site septic lots. And I've sold properties where there say was a garage or a storage unit that was not attached to the main property or house. All right. And we had to document that there were, multiple, perhaps deeds, things of that like. But this is there because a buyer has bought a property and did not know that there was a detached garage that was owned by the same person that could have been purchased or should have been purchased together, and it wasn't. Again, they're here because there was a mistake made.
I sold a house. It was a townhome in a community, and it had a detached garage that actually was deeded. Yeah. So that was pretty interesting.
There was a separate deed for the detached garage.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, it was exactly that. Yeah.
That's the reason why this is here.
That's right. That's
one
right.
of the reasons. Yeah.
Well, it was interesting because, at first, they were going to try to sell the garage separately,
Yeah.
And-
well, it's a valuable commodity. I wish I could remember the name of the community that I had a conversation with an agent about in North Raleigh, but this particular townhome community, there are limited garages that are off-site that are deeded separately to some of the owners. And when this community was originally built, this particular potential client I'm talking about, actually it's an agent that we know, they own a townhome and then they own a garage, one-car garage, deeded separately. And there was conversation about selling it together or selling it separately kind of deal.
Yeah.
Because you could do either.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a separate deed. Yeah.
And I'm sure there's somebody in that community that would love to get their hands on a garage.
On another one.
And they might pay more of a premium to do that.
That is what these sellers thought. But through my awesome negotiation, I got the garage for my clients for virtually free.
Yeah. Who trained you, Phillip, by the way? Oh,
Paul
this
Smith.
guy.
Paul Smith, that's right. All right, so I'm going to run through the options again on the Additional Provisions Addendum Form 2A11-T. Is 1, expiration of offer, 2, septic systems, 3, rental income, investment properties, number 4, agreed upon repairs or improvements, number 5, any manufactured product that's being conveyed, number 6, clarify who's responsible for getting the pool ready and re-winterizing it. Say re-winterizing 3 times.
Re-winterizing.
And then the off-site septic garage or storage. So that basically lays out all the options for the Additional Provisions Addendum. And again, it attaches to the contract, becomes a part of the contract. And pro tip, just so in case you didn't know, any addendum you add to a contract rules over the contract.
Yes.
I'm not an attorney, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn.
Excellent. By the way, this is a form that does not have a guideline in our forms library matched up to it.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is if you have questions about how to complete it or your particular situation, consult with your broker in charge. That's the best policy because more than likely they've had some experience with it and they can help you. And that's always good advice.
That's right.
At that.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you this. It's a great form if you use it properly. And I think it's just one of those things that adds another layer to what you're doing and use it in specific situations for specific outcomes. Paul, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, we forgot to say that we were coming from our studios and
In front of a live studio.
in front of a live studio audience
That's
in
right.
Cary, North Carolina. That's where Reconcilable Differences is
right.
filmed and recorded. So
Well-
I want to get that in.
Well, I like that. Keep in mind, they're probably not going to believe us since there's nobody laughing.
Wait a second, I hear something from the fish tank.
Yeah.
I also want to say to remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate all that. And last but not least, good selling.